was born in the Shenandoah Mountains of Virginia, a place called Fort Valley, Virginia. It actually had a population of 100 people. Yeah, my town actually had a sign that actually said 100 people. I attended a 2-room schoolhouse. Grades 1 through 3 was in one room, 4 through 6 was in another room, and we had a total of about 33 students when I went to elementary school. It was definitely unlike most places that you've probably ever heard of. It was in the mountains of the Shenandoah Mountains, and the George Washington National Forest was actually in my backyard. I learned so much growing up and going to that personable 2-room elementary school. I actually had a Bible school bus that I went on every Monday. It was a little blue Bible school bus. My town actually taught me a lot about the fundamentals of life. Everybody kind of looked out for each other. Everybody loved each other. Everybody might have talked about each other, but what family doesn't have a little bit of family dysfunction to some extent? As a child, I actually grew up with basically my mom and dad were split up since I was born. I kind of bounced around from one household to another household when I was a child. I never really knew where I fit in as a person. My father was retired when I was born. He was 52 actually when I was born, and my mom was 39. I was kind of like the last chance child for both my parents, as they were both previously married before they met and had me. I learned a lot growing up by actually going to church. I actually kind of resisted it because my father, when I lived with him, which I primarily lived with him most of my adolescence, he never really went to church. My father was Cherokee Indian. My great-grandmother was full Cherokee. My dad taught me to pray to God and told me I could go into a closet, and that actually meant just as much as if I went to church. Yet, I was baptized as a Lutheran. My father never attended church with me, but yet he would send me to church with my cousins, neighbors, and people I could get the basic values or fundamentals. As a child, I remember going to a Lutheran church, a Methodist church, a church where they washed each other's feet, a church where they played rock music, and so many different types. In the town of 100 people, we had about a dozen churches. It didn't really make much sense. As a child, I would go to all these different churches on a weekly basis, by myself, with my cousins, with strangers, with friends. I didn't really understand what I was actually grasping, because I was pretty much too sidetracked listening to the conversations of the adults. The adults of the churches that I went to were always talking about each other. They were telling me, or not me, but each other, that you can't go to one church because they wash each other's feet. You can't go to this other one because that's where so-and-so type of people go. And you can't do this, and you can't do that. And as a young child, I was very impressionable. I didn't understand why people went to church to basically talk about each other and ridicule other people's beliefs. It actually made me grow up and kind of push church away completely. Yet I always had a fundamental knowing that there was something bigger outside of ourselves, that there actually was a creator in this world. That's my personal belief. Not judging anybody for not believing in what I believe, but it was kind of a connection that I kind of felt. Could have been conditioning, but in my soul, I know that there's a God. And as I grew up, I analyzed how people judged each other based off of how they looked, what they believed, what kind of clothes they wore, what kind of wealth they had. And as a child, I didn't really understand why we spent so much time picking apart each other than actually coming together. And now, fast forward many years, we're in 2017. I got married when I was 19 and when I was in 2002. I was emancipated. I divorced my parents when I was 16. I had my first child when I was 22. I had another child in 2009. I was married for several years, and I got divorced in 2013. I walked away from everything and started basically a new life with basically a backpack of stuff. And I worked in several different industries. I started out when I was 16. I became a legal assistant working at a law firm before I was actually married. I was a legal assistant for about 4 or 5 years. Then I decided to have my first child when I was 22. And it actually gave me that ambition and that desire during that time to have the ability to get my real estate license. I became a realtor. I did it part-time. I worked for multiple brokerages throughout southeastern Connecticut. I leased apartments. I learned how to do medical billing. I did radio advertising for a couple of years. I waitressed. I ultimately ended up in working at a construction company doing marketing and advertising that led me into the telecom world, where I worked for corporate America for a few years for a few telecom companies. I meet homeowners, I meet people, I meet business people. I hear of the news, even though I personally decided to shut off TV over 5 years ago. When I got divorced, I decided that I really didn't need to be a part of what the conditioning of society is by tuning into this black screen that's right here. My children watch it more than I do. We have Netflix and Amazon. But when it comes to the core beliefs and fundamentals that I see that go on in society today, I see a lot of disconnect. I see a lot of things that goes on that I don't understand, yet I'm tired of living in the dark and pretending it doesn't exist. I'm tired of digging my head in the sand and thinking that the world's gonna become a better place. I want to make a difference. I've always wanted to make a difference, but yet I never knew how to begin. So I figured I'll begin by sharing a little bit about who I am, my story, and to see how we can kind of connect, because I'm sure I can relate to a lot of people through various aspects, from people that have had children, people that are struggling depression, people that have had family members that had substance abuse in their life, to being in a toxic relationship. There's so many things that we all kind of go through at different phases of our lives, and we all think that we're on our own island, that when we go through these experiences, that there's nobody there that can actually help us or understand. We kind of become isolated inside ourselves and don't really reach out. And the main issue that I didn't finally realize, but I can tell is going on, that's causing our world to get off balanced. Instead of us being accountable for our actions, we're too busy blaming everybody else. We're blaming everybody else on what they're doing in their lives. We're throwing those stones at those glass houses. We're telling people how to live, what to do, what they should believe. We're telling people every day, we're giving them advice, or we're making judgments in our head. I've done it. I mean, I tried not to, but I'm human too. But if we can kind of separate ourselves and realize it and consciously redirect when we actually start to judge another person or another person's situation, and actually realize that everybody's on their own journey and have an acceptance of who they are and accountability of who we are as people, as parents, as people in society, we can actually make a difference. We can't sit here and just expect that things are just going to get easier for us. We can't expect that the system in place is actually going to be the system that's going to save us. We actually have to be accountable for our choices and our actions that we make in life. It's not that complicated. We have to connect back in to our human side and stop overanalyzing everybody else and stop judging ourselves and others. We all need to work on improving ourselves and creating that balance. And yes, it is a struggle. It is. There is not a moment that goes by that you don't have to make a conscious effort. Some days are great. Other days you can just feel drained and you don't know why. But to be accountable, honor where you are, respect everybody, and come together at a place of love and start tearing down these walls that separate us. It doesn't matter how much money somebody makes. It doesn't matter what they wear. Doesn't matter what their education is. Not everybody has the same opportunities in life. All we can do is help each other and actually realize that if we stop judging people, we stop ridiculing people and picking apart what their beliefs are, what they look like, where they come from, how they grew up, and actually realize that we all are human, we could actually make this world a better place. We could all learn to get along. We could actually learn to honor ourselves, our bodies, feed our minds, bodies, and souls. Give each other what we need. Hold space for each other. And then once we do that, we can learn to connect with the world. It starts from within. You have to be able to fill up your own cup inside yourself in order to spread that positive energy outward. And some days, we're all human. We just don't feel it inside ourselves. So find ways to honor the spirit that lives within you. Find ways to fill up your cup, whether it's to be taking a walk outside, calling a friend, thinking of all the silver linings that happen in your life. Instead of looking at your life and looking at the circumstances and saying, whoa, why did this happen to me? And everybody's out to get me, nobody loves me, and all these different things. Look at the blessings that you have. Every day is an opportunity to make a difference in your life and in somebody else's life by giving a smile, by holding a door, by just being present with somebody when you're talking to them. It's the simple things in life that can actually change. Stop trying to run and hide and blame other people and be accountable. Yes, the systems that society has aren't working. It's obvious. But instead of let's playing the blame game in the political world or play the blame game in your own life, start being accountable in your life and realize where you can help improve yourself. And by improving yourself as an individual, you can improve the quality of your family, of your friends, and everyone around you. And all it takes is one person to make a difference, and that person starts with you.